I'm sorry if I dug those back up for you. But the game looks absolutely incredible coming to Wii U spring 2016, which of course Justin and I joke about. Should have been today, but maybe spring will come tomorrow. You never know. It's just a couple seasons away. But our players are getting settled on the stage now. We'll be jumping into round 4 of Swiss very, very soon. And after that incredible match, I want to see how these two players follow up. Not to add any extra pressure, but it's going to be really interesting to see the level of play just keep escalating and escalating as we get deeper and deeper into the rounds of Swiss.
Right, and as we get deeper and deeper into, day 2, this is already the best of the best. Yesterday we had the best playing in the world. Today, we cut to the best of the best all the way until we go to the grand finals where it's the 2 best players in the world. And, as we go deeper into the rounds, the competition is going to be a bit more intense. We're going to be expecting a lot more high-risk, high-reward plays because, that might be able to push you over the edge and get you in the top cut.
Absolutely. Being able to analyze and weigh the risk versus reward is something that's crucial in Pokemon, without a doubt. And as you say, as you get deeper and deeper, yesterday we had the best of the best. It's kind of like when you buy, your favorite loaf of bread. I don't know if anyone has a favorite loaf of bread, cinnamon raisin for me. But that first piece, it's good, but it doesn't, does anyone like the end pieces of bread? Do you like the end pieces of bread? Are you a fan?
I'm okay with them.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Wow, we're gonna have to talk after this casting. I'm not sure, but when you get deeper and deeper, you know what I'm saying. The slices get a little bit better, unless you're making peanut butter and jelly and you're using Martin's potato bread. That's totally cool. Then you can use the end pieces because those are just so good. But that's the only time we have both of our players on stage. You guys can see them getting set up. Both Miguel and Naito, both players that have obviously come very, very far in their Pokemon career. And it looks like we're going to be jumping into the game, right into team preview. It's going to be awesome. We do see, I have Miguel's team right in front of me. We have, Miguel is going to be bringing Gastrodon, Ferrothorn, Arcanine, Salamence, Thundurus, and Tyranitar. So we're going to see a potential of two or 3 megas, I believe just 2 megas right there in Salamence and Tyranitar. And then Naito is going to be bringing Kangaskhan, Entei, I'll say that one more time. Entei, Aegislash, Amoonguss, Landorus, and Cresselia. I say Entei twice because Entei is one of my favorite Pokemon for sure. I can hear a little bit of clapping. I think the audience is just getting a little bit of hype for the match already, which is awesome because I'm jittering. I tell you guys, I just like to jitter before the match. It's just so incredible. What threats do you see on these teams? I love the Gastrodon.
I absolutely love the Gastrodon. It's a very good counter to rain teams because, it just easily takes in those water type attacks. Of course, on Naohito's side, we do see the Entei, which we saw a little bit of yesterday. It's definitely picking up in popularity, I see, because, Sacred Fire, well, it has access to Sacred Fire in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, right? And
yes.
The fact that it does have Sacred Fire, it's a very powerful physical attack that can have a very high chance of picking up burn, and that's going to be very right. It's going to be very important. Will-O-Wisp does have that 70% chance to hit, but Sacred Fire also does a little bit more damage too. So Entei does have its merit, and I think that's going to be an interesting Pokemon to see. Gastrodon, with the Storm Drain ability, it is actually a pretty especially bulky Pokemon too. And Gastrodon versus that Entei, that's going to be a pretty big matchup, I think. Of course, Arcanine we also see on Miguel Marty's side. And Arcanine, he kind of plays a pretty good role in Intimidate, Will-O-Wisp, and he also has access to Snarl.
Yes, oh my gosh. So as does Entei. Snarl is just a fantastic move. One that I feel like is just really started to gain popularity during this year's circuit, since the Legendary Beast became available into this meta. Snarl is just an awesome move, lowering the special attack of every Pokemon that it hits. Really incredible. Of course, it's going to be interesting to see if either player takes advantage of that, because Naito has some very hefty physical threats in that Kangaskhan and that Entei. Aegislash, of course, not wanting to take a Snarl, just gets terrified when it sees a Snarl. Lowering it, depending on if it's specially offensive or physically offensive, can go either way, and that's just really cool. We're jumping right into this match now. Of course, we're going to be watching from Miguel's perspective, just so you guys understand. We're going to see Naito send out his Pokemon first, and he opens up with the Cresselia and the Kangaskhan, and then we're going to see Miguel lead with the Arcanine and the Tyranitar, and I feel like they hit the field really hard.
Oh yeah, those are heavy Pokemon.
Those are heavy Pokemon, man. I heard that. I felt it over here.
We do see the Arcanine go for the Intimidate onto the Kangaskhan, and we see Tyranitar bring up the sand, and this is actually a pretty decent matchup right now for Miguel's side. Arcanine does have access to close combat. I mean, it depends on what this Arcanine is built for. Is it going to be more of an offensive, or is it going to be more of the defensive support Pokemon? Kangaskhan getting intimidated at one stage of decreased attack, that's going to be, a little bit hindering towards Kangaskhan's full potential, while obviously Tyranitar is going to be heavily threatening to that Cresselia. I mean, Cresselia doesn't really have that much that can touch Tyranitar because, the Sandstream boosts Tyranitar's special defense by gives it a 50% boost.
Yes, and of course, not being able to hit it with its same type attack bonus, attack psychic type, because Tyranitar is immune to them thanks to his dark typing. Definitely looking like it's in Miguel's favor here. Even if that Arcanine is a supportive Pokemon, it has access to Will-O-Wisp, like we mentioned, Will-O-Wisp, and that Kangaskhan does not want to get Will-O-Wisp, and for that reason, Kangaskhan is not even going to attempt a fake out. It's just going to switch out, and Nahito's going to bring in his Landers to intimidate and lower the physical attack of both of Miguel's Pokemon here, and we're going to see that the Cresselia is going to go for the Protect, not wanting to take a Dark type attack, and we're going to see Arcanine going into the Cresselia. Both Pokemon, I'm losing track of my words because both Pokemon just went into that Cresselia, and unfortunately nothing's going to go off, but the Sandstorm damage is going to reveal that Arcanine is just a bit faster than Cresselia.
Yeah, and that was actually a very good switch right there. Pretty much Nahito got a free switch in, and that's impressive. We do see the Cresselia have Protect. A lot of Cresselia opts not to have Protect, simply because, Cresselia has this issue where it wants to have 4 other moves than Protect, right?
Yes.
Miguel, he's no stranger to the stage of Worlds. I mean, last year he top 8'd, and, he's been to Worlds many times before. Now, he's playing like he's been here before with that amazing switch right there. Does get the Intimidate off onto Tyranitar and Arcanine. Of course, Tyranitar could be special as well, so it depends on how this Tyranitar is built.
Of course, but you getting that Intimidate off on both those Pokemon is still never a bad time. We see the Gastrodon is going to come in for the Arcanine, and Miguel is pulling a double switch here as Ferrothorn comes in for the Tyranitar, feeling like he wants to have his bulkier, more defensive Pokemon here, but we're going to see the Earthquake come out. Of course, Cresselia being immune to that, but both Ferrothorn and Gastrodon are going to take, wow, that was a critical hit on that Ferrothorn, I believe, and then we're going to see the Ice Beam connect into the Gastrodon for neutral damage, but it's not going to do too much because Gastrodon is one of the more bulky Pokemon.
Yeah, and we do see Gastrodon and Ferrothorn, good switch right there. Didn't want to take that Earthquake from that Landers Therian, so good call right there from Miguel to switch out Tyranitar and Arcanine. Arcanine and Tyranitar are going to come in handy a lot better later, plus it's going to reset their stat drops too. Ferrothorn right now, of course, can take another hit from both Cresselia and that Landers, depending on what item that Landers is carrying. If it's carrying a Choice Scarf, then it's going to be locked into Earthquake. Ferrothorn will definitely be able to take another Ice Beam and Earthquake, and fire back with a powerful Gyro Ball, maybe a powerful Power Whip, or even try to set up a Leech Seed to try to stay on the field as long as possible.
Absolutely, but we're going to see that Landers is just going to fire off another Earthquake, being the fastest thing on the field, not able to take out either Pokemon. However, Cresselia is going to fire a Psycho off into the Gastrodon and pick up the knockout right there, putting Miguel to be the first one losing a Pokemon, and we're going to see Ferrothorn is going to go for the Leech Seed, like we did mention, onto that Landers, going to try to regain some of that HP back that it's been losing from those Earthquakes. Of course, Cresselia is the only one affected by the Sandstorm right now, and Ferrothorn is just going to get a little bit of recovery between leftovers and the Leech Seed that just connected with Landorus.
Right, I think right now the best switch for Miguel to come in is with that Arcanine, just to get another Intimidate off, but it could go either way. Arcanine and Tyranitar, they both don't like the matchup with this Landers Therian, especially since it's content with just going with Earthquakes with that Cresselia partner on the side.
Absolutely. Landers can see just how much damage it's dishing out to the Ferrothorn, and with both of Miguel's remaining Pokemon, other than that Ferrothorn being weak to Earthquake, he's kind of backed into a bit of a corner here. Landers hasn't revealed any other move, hasn't had the need to reveal his Choice Scarf, because nothing that Miguel has put onto the field has been faster than it to begin with, thanks to its base stat speed being pretty high.
One thing to note right there, the Tyranitar's hit point value is actually pretty low compared to more bulkily invested Tyranitar, so maybe this is going to be a fast Tyranitar, maybe it is carrying a Choice Scarf. Not exactly sure what it could be carrying just yet, so we'll just have to see what Miguel decided to do with that Tyranitar, but Landers Therian right now is going to be perfectly fine with going for another Earthquake. Tyranitar is not going to enjoy taking it. It should be able to take it, but it's going to be taking a lot of damage in the process.
Absolutely, and definitely since you noted the lower HP stat, I don't think he's going to want to really want to take that Earthquake, but he's really back in the corner. Like I said before, he's going to have to go for something. The Kangaskhan is going to come in on Naito's side of the field, but revealing that he's not choice, goes for a superpower onto the Tyranitar, knocking it out, so we can confirm that Landers is not scarfed, it is not choiced in any way, and Tyranitar is going to go down. Not only did Naito switch out the Cresselia, but just knocked out that Tyranitar. A Gyro Ball is going to connect into Landers and miss the knockout. just barely. But the lead seed is still there, which should be able to finish up that Landorus and bring Ferrothorn back into the green for HP, which is really nice for Miguel, but he is down 2 Pokemon now.
Coming in right now, Arcanine can switch in, intimidate that Kangaskhan, so Miguel not in too bad a position. Kangaskhan at one stage of reduced attack, like I said earlier, it's going to be hindered. Of course, Kangaskhan might have access to Power Punch, which could easily just negate those intimidate drops right away, so it's going to be really up to what Miguel built this Arcanine for. Does it have Will-O-Wisp? Is it just going to go ahead and try to pick up Knockout with close combat, most likely? I think it has access to close combat. I think he might have close combat.
Yeah, that could definitely be a possibility on Miguel's moveset for that Arcanine. But either way, Nahito still has the very, very defensive and long-living Cresselia back there, and we have not even seen his final Pokemon. So I think Nahito here is trying to decide, do I want to reveal that final Pokemon? We know that Game 1 is all about information. Not all about, you want to get the win, but if you can't get the win, you want to get as much information as possible. And Nahito is actually going to go out into that Aegislash, so Arcanine feeling even more comfortable on the field right now, but Kangaskhan, of course, can apply Fake Out pressure if it wants to.
Yeah, we do see the Intimidate come out, and Aegislash is a Pokemon that Miguel probably does not mind seeing. I mean, better than seeing that Entei, correct? With
yes.
Ferrothorn's 4 times weakness. And right now, he still has a chance to be able to pick up his victory. The key right now is that Aegislash needs to be knocked out, because Kangaskhan versus Ferrothorn, Ferrothorn can kind of hang on and go for lead seeds, but, time is also going to be a factor, and Ferrothorn has to be able to somehow drain Nahito of Kangaskhan's hit points and Cresselia's hit points with the Leech Seeds and those Gyro Balls. So I think the win condition right now for Miguel is definitely to hit that Aegislash as hard as possible.
Absolutely, and I think in the same regard for Nahito, he's got to get rid of that Ferrothorn before it can start recovering all that HP and kind of planting its seeds all over the field. Because, like you said, if that happens, Miguel still has a chance to win without a doubt. It's just going to become a bit of a time game, and just seeing how many turns he can let pass by with Sandstorm Animation, of course, kind of coming into play. But we're going to see the Fake Out on the Arcanine from the Mega Kangaskhan, making Arcanine not be able to take out that Aegislash. Kind of just going to... Aegislash is free to go for a move as it's going to go for an offensive move. We're going to see it here. Who it's going to target down is the question. He's going to go for a Shadow Ball, targeting down the Arcanine. Just going to get rid of that first, saying, forget it. You want to plant your seeds. You don't look like a farmer to me. I'm going to go ahead and let you do that. We do see the Life Orb recoil on the Aegislash, which is really, really cool. And it looks like the Leech Seed did not connect. And that was probably the worst thing that could have happened for Miguel there.
I just want to point out that was a very good notification from Nahito to realize what his win condition was.
Yes.
Arcanine was the bigger threat right now.
I was 100% wrong, ladies and gentlemen. I thought get rid of the Seed Planter, but he just wanted to go ahead and just target everything he had down to that Arcanine.
Right, absolutely. And, Kangaskhan now going for that frustration. That might do more damage back to Kangaskhan with the Iron Barbs than how much it does to Ferrothorn.
Yeah, definitely. That's an interesting move choice for sure. We're going to see that second frustration doing very, very little, and Iron Barbs doing a 20% to that Kangaskhan. Bringing it down about 20-30% total. And the Shadow Ball is going to connect from the Aegislash into the Ferrothorn, and it's going to pick up the knockout. So Nahito is going to walk away with the first game. Both players kind of give each other the good game, head nod, fist bump, handshake type of deal. But the match is not over. That was only game 1. Information was given. Some really, really good points were the fact that the Aegislash is holding the Life Orb. I think that's very, very important because you never really know. Aegislash is one of the best Pokemon, if not the best Pokemon in this format right now, and it can be run a variety of ways.
Right, the Life Orb variant is popular, the Weakness Policy variant was also popular coming into the United States Nationals, and of course, Leftovers with the substitute is always popular too. More information that was revealed, that Landorus is not carrying Choice Scarf,
yes.
And although that Tyranitar does have a low hit point investment with the base stat training, that means that Tyranitar is also not going to be carrying Choice Scarf too, so it's going to be interesting to see what that item on that Landorus is. Landorus is one of those Pokemon that came into Worlds as a big threat. Landorus with the Choice Scarf, it's so fast and can go for very fast rock slides, possibly creating opportunities for flinching or possibly creating opportunities for good intimidates to just U-turn immediately out. So, that Landorus item is something that Miguel definitely wants to try to figure out. It's not Choice Band, which is the other popular variant. Most likely it's going to be the Assault Vest, I believe.
It could be Assault Vest. I was thinking, I guess I was thinking outside the box, kind of obscure, because I wasn't sure if we ever saw a physical move connect with that Landorus. Intimidate Rocky Helmet, kind of really out there, but it could be possible. I think Assault Vest makes a lot more sense after hearing you say that word, Assault Vest. It does make perfect sense. We did see confirmation that the Tyranitar was not holding any sort of berry to reduced fighting type damage because it did just right away drop it. Like you said, we confirmed that it's not that fast because it got outsped by a non-choiced Landorus, possibly both Pokemon trained in speed, allowing the Landorus to still be the faster one, and not having the choice item is going to kind of hurt. Not going to speed up that Tyranitar at all.
Right.
We're jumping right into Game 2. Both players kind of pretty prepared on picking their Pokemon. That's really impressive, especially after a game like that. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if Naito leads the same because he won that game. But we're going to see Miguel lead with the Salamence and the Ferrothorn right there. So two green Pokemon on the field. And Naito's going to lead Landorus and Cresselia.
Interesting thing to note, last game, Miguel didn't bring Salamence. He didn't bring his possible Mega. And it's going to be a huge play in this matchup. One thing that I think Miguel definitely has to do coming into Game 2 is, he has to go a bit more on the offensive.
Yes.
Because last game, he kind of just switched in Gastrodon, and he kind of just switched in the Ferrothorn and took Earthquakes and Psychics left and right. So, Miguel definitely has to try to pick up the offense. I think Salamence might be the answer for him because now he knows that Landorus is not going to be Choice Scarf. Salamence will be able to outspeed.
Yes. I think it was very crucial, though, is that Naito kind of put Miguel in that position to force that double switch because he brought that Landorus in against two Pokemon that did not want to take an Earthquake. So, although Miguel, it would have been awesome if he didn't have to make that switch, it was kind of put upon him, and that speaks testaments to Naito's playstyle, kind of forcing his opponent into a corner.
Right, and that was because that Landorus, of course, switched in, and Arcanine and Tyranitar, they didn't like facing off against that at all. Right now, of course, this Cresselia does threaten that Salamence with a powerful Ice Beam, but we just go ahead and see Salamence switch out instead.
Yeah, I don't think Miguel wants to risk that Ice Beam whatsoever, so he's going to switch out and go on to the Gastrodon. We're going to see the Landorus also withdraw from combat, not wanting to deal with anything on the field, and the Aegislash is going to come in. Cresselia is going to go ahead and protect itself, not wanting to take any damage, as Ferrothorn tried to hit that Cresselia but was unable to thanks to the Protect.
I kind of want to say that was a possible Leech Seed in that slot.
Yes, I would think so.
Yeah, just to kind of set up Ferrothorn to start sitting on the field a lot longer. We do see the Aegislash switch in. Gastrodon, of course, comes in too. Gastrodon, I think, has a bit more of a favorable matchup. It does have access to that same type of attack bonus, Earth Power, that can hit that Aegislash. A lot of players, they think that their Aegislashes are pretty safe. A lot of the ground type attacks these days are going to be the Earthquakes or the Heat Waves, but, Gastrodon just has Earth Power, and Gastrodon is a very specially bulky Pokemon, right?
Yes.
It used to be very popular back in the day, but, recently it hasn't been too popular at all. But, Gastrodon is a especially bulky Pokemon, has access to a lot of different moves, Earth Power, Scald, Muddy Water even. So I'm actually excited to see Gastrodon back on the field. I think he can do some work against this.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite Pokemon to see. The Aegislash, though, is not going to want to take that risk. Goes for, I believe that was the King Shield. We're going to see a Psychic, though, into the Gastrodon, as Gastrodon is going to go for a Scald, firing off into the Cresselia, doing a good amount of damage to a Pokemon that is normally very, very bulky, and the Leech Seeds this time is going to connect on the Cresselia, so that's going to be extra residual damage and extra recovery for the Ferrothorn. One big thing Leech Seed does is it kind of forces the person who is seeded to consider their position. Should I switch out?
Right, and you don't want to stay in too long when you're seated, right? Because you're just giving your opponent more health back, and that might create some offensive opportunities for Miguel if he feels like now Hito wants to get Cresselia out, which could open up a big hole for Miguel to take advantage of. And we do see the Scald do a pretty good amount of damage.
Yeah, that was a good amount of damage. And since one of the Pokemon we saw in the back for Naito was the Landorus, it's not a safe switch in for Landorus to come in that slot because we just saw a Scald Leech Seed into there. Of course, the Protect is very possible from the Cresselia, but how long Naito wants to leave that Cresselia in while it's Leech Seeded is kind of the question. And another thing to note is the Protect, the King Shield from the Aegislash last turn.
Right, and Cresselia switching out is also very dangerous because of possible burns that could happen too.
Absolutely. We're going to see the Psychic go into Gastrodon again, bring it down to just a bit above 50%, and we're going to see the Shadow Ball. Is he going to target down the Gastrodon? He's going to. Is he going to pick up the knockout? He's going to get a critical hit. It's a crit, taking out that Gastrodon. That is a bit unfortunate for Miguel. That Life Orb, though, kind of speaks testament. The crit might not have mattered, and unfortunately, another Leech Seed misses.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate to see. I mean, I feel like Miguel had something up his sleeve right there to kind of deal with this Aegislash and this Cresselia. We do see, Ferrothorn go for the Leech Seed. That's a smart play because, Aegislash can't really block that in any way at all.
Absolutely, and right here it's going to be a very critical turn because the Tyranitar does come in to set up the sand, and Cresselia doesn't want to be here for now 2 reasons: lead seated and a dark type on the field.
Yeah, and Aegislash itself doesn't want to be on the field either because it can easily take a dark type attack from Tyranitar. Of course, Aegislash does threaten with the King Shield, that's going to possibly reduce Tyranitar's attack by 2 stages if it does stay in and go for the King Shield and go for the Aegislash. But I'd probably expect a switch right here from Naohito unless he feels like his 4th Pokemon is something that he no longer needs, or his 4th Pokemon is the one that he needs to complete the puzzle to take the victory.
Definitely. Otherwise, because switching in the Landers, of course, is always an option that he does have because it has the Intimidate. It can reduce the physical pressure from that Tyranitar and the Ferrothorn if it is carrying Gyro Ball. We're going to see the Cresselia is going to withdraw. The question is, does Miguel predict that and play to that effect? We're going to see Landers come right back in, get that Intimidate off, like I just said, was most likely going to happen. Going to go ahead and put Naito in a little bit more comfortable position. And to be even more comfortable on the field, that Aegislash is going to return to shield form using the King's Shield, making sure it's not going to take any damage. We're going to have to see what Miguel decided to do this turn. Miguel is going to go for the Rock Slide here. It's going to connect on the Landers, but because of that Intimidate, it is not going to do too much. A Lead Seed, though, going to connect on the Aegislash, of course. Lead Seed is not blocked by King's Shield, so a very smart play by Miguel there to finally get some seeds on that Aegislash.
And that was actually a very good switch right there. It was pretty safe to get that Landers Therian back in and go for the Intimidate on Ferrothorn and Tyranitar, 2 very popular physical attacking Pokemon, and that's going to reduce how much that Gyro Ball is going to do to that from Ferrothorn to that Landers. I mean, last game we saw it almost pick up a knockout, right? So that's going to be something to note, that Landers Therian probably wants to keep recycling those Intimidates. And Aegislash does get seeded. Ferrothorn probably right now wants to go ahead and go for another lead seat onto that Landers Therian slot too. And what Naohito's probably going to go for right now is try to pick up that knockout on that Tyranitar. But Miguel might not want to just sacrifice that Tyranitar like last game.
Yeah, especially being in that position already once before. It might not want to stay and go for and just take that superpower. It might want, maybe it's packing Protect and it wants to Protect. But we're going to see Tyranitar instead just completely withdraw and get out of there before taking a superpower. Going out into the Salamence, I think that was a very smart play. The question is, did Naito predict that? Because the Intimidate's going to come in and go ahead and reduce the physical attack of both Pokemon, of course, mattering a lot more on the Landorus here. And we're going to see Aegislash withdraws even after getting lead seated. A very, very safe and smart play by Naito, bringing back to Cresselia, and we're going to see the Earthquake is actually going to be the move of choice, going to hit only the Ferrothorn here, thanks to Cresselia and Salamence being able to just float above the ground a little bit and avoid it completely. We're going to see the lead seed connect, though, on the Landers, and this lead seed is becoming a bit of a problem for Naito. Just forcing switches or forcing residual damage, it can really work. The timer is ticking down.
Yeah, and that was a great switch right there from Miguel, as we see the Cresselia activated Citrus Berry and recover a lot of health back. Pretty much Landorus kind of went for an Earthquake, did a little bit of chip damage to that Ferrothorn. We see that Intimidate pay off so well.
Absolutely.
For Miguel's side. Ferrothorn actually might heal back to full health here, depending on how much this Leech Seed did to that Landorus Therian.
And it just barely misses it by 3 points, but honestly, that's nothing to sneeze at regardless. Like, that's incredible recovery right there.
Yeah, and one thing to note that was unfortunate for Miguel's side was that, Cresselia got put back into Citrus Berry range, because if Cresselia was just at, a little bit above 50%, I feel like Salamence could have taken out that Cresselia in one hit. But, now Cresselia might have a bit too much health for it to be able to pick up the knockout. So that's unfortunate right there for Miguel's side.
Absolutely. Miguel's own Sandstorm is kind of put him in a terrible position there, forcing that Citrus to pop. It looks like it's going to be tough because he can try to double into that Cresselia, but Ferrothorn, although it is generally, if it has an attacking move, it's physical, it doesn't hit that hard. It's more of one of those Pokemon that want to sit on the field, kind of annoy your opponent with residual damage, as Miguel's been doing with the Leech Seed. But we'll see what Miguel decides to do as Naito switches out his Landers and goes back out into the Aegislash. Salamence just going for the Protect and not Mega Evolving yet. Very, very good, kind of wanting to preserve that Intimidate in case that Lander switched out. Another Leech Seed is going to connect on that Cresselia. Are we going to see an Ice Beam from it? No, we are not going to see an Ice Beam. We're going to see the Trick Room come out. The Trick Room is coming out as the Aegislash comes in. That is an absolutely beautiful setup by Naito.
Yeah, now that Salamence is going to be moving last. Ferrothorn is also a pretty slow Pokemon, so Miguel probably doesn't mind that too much. Of course, he wants Salamence to be able to go on the offensive right now, and unfortunately, it's going to be a bit dangerous with that Cresselia, possibly threatening with an Ice Beam. We do see Ferrothorn again set up that Leech Seed, which is going to be so important for Miguel to keep that Ferrothorn out on the field. Aegislash right now is probably going to be the fastest thing on the field. and, just go on the offensive. That's going to be doing a lot of damage to Ferrothorn or Salamence, depending on where Naohito feels is the biggest threat.
Yeah, I think Naito just swung momentum right into his favor with that Trick Room. It was an absolutely beautiful play. You see Cresselia, you know that it can pack Trick Room. You were talking before about how Cresselia has 4 other moves it wants to run other than Protect, so sometimes you don't get to see it. There's just so many supportive moves that Cresselia can do. It has access to Helping Hand, Trick Room. There's just so much out there. Moonlight for recovery. There's just a plethora of moves you can run, but seeing the Trick Room come out is really, really cool, especially because Naito's going to be able to take full advantage of that Trick Room because he switched in his Aegislash very, very safely, completely scot-free. Fantastic. Salamence, though, is going to get withdrawn for Miguel as he goes back out into Tyranitar. This is extremely risky because if the Aegislash decides to go on the offensive and go for a Flash Cannon, it can do a decent amount even with the Sand Up. Although Ferrothorn is going to move first and get Leech Seeds onto that Aegislash. Aegislash is going to defensive. The question is, what move did he decide to go for? It looks like he's going to be going for that Flash Cannon, targeting down the Tyranitar, and it's just barely going to miss the knockout. That was an incredible prediction right there. It was a pretty safe call to want to target that slot no matter what. An Ice Beam, though, is going to follow suit in case that Salamence stayed in, and it's going to pick up the knockout despite the special defense boost thanks to the Sandstorm. Naito just played absolutely perfectly there, and Trick Room, of course, counts down a little bit.
Yeah, and that's just unfortunate to see. Great call right there from Naohito to realize that, either I'm going to hit this thing with a Flash Cannon and an Ice Beam, or I'm going to get Tyranitar on that switch. So great realization from Naohito to go for the Flash Cannon instead of that Shadow Ball, as we see Salamence come back in, and, he will get to protect another turn, but Naohito might make a read and go ahead and double target that Ferrothorn instead. So Miguel right now has to pick up the offense. This is his final 2 Pokemon. Ferrothorn doesn't have that much offensive presence. Ferrothorn could possibly do a lot of damage with that, that Aegislash right now in Blade form, so I'm not sure if that's going to be able to pick up a knockout, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens this turn. Cresselia is getting weakened now more and more as the turns go by. Sand and the seeds are definitely adding up, and Ferrothorn does have a lot of staying power right now, but he can easily just switch out. Right now, Naohito has a lot more momentum going into this turn because he has so many more options to switch out if he wants to, but Ice Beam from Cresselia is going to threaten that Salamence, and Aegislash is going to be a heavily used offensive weapon right now.
Absolutely. It's definitely tough for Miguel because you guys can see there's only 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in this match, and I think Naito's doing the very smart thing. I feel as though he's playing the clock a little bit. Gonna switch out his Aegislash and go back out into one of his Pokemon from the back. It's going to be the Kangaskhan coming in, who has yet to see action, really hasn't Mega Evolved, hasn't done anything. The Salamence, though, is going to Mega Evolve. The question is he going to risk the Ice Beam, hoping that Naito goes ahead and makes the prediction for Protect? Looks like the Ferrothorn is going to go for a Power Whip onto the Cresselia, but it's not going to do quite anything, as Salamence is going to take an Ice Beam from the Cresselia and not going to be able to live it. That's a critical hit. It's a crit again. Not quite sure if that mattered because it is 4 times effective, but depending on how the Pokemon were trained, it just could have. Lisi, though, going to take more damage from the Cresselia, but at this point, that animation is actually going to run the clock even further down and work against Miguel.
Yeah, and it's currently 1-4. That's not a situation that Miguel wants to be in. Cresselia will fall to the Leech Seed next turn, but, Naohito can easily switch because Kangaskhan has access to Fake Out, could easily fake it out to get a switch in, but he could also just go on the offensive because right now Miguel has his back absolutely to the wall now. Naohito is in absolute control of this match. 4-1, and yeah.
And we're going to see a 4 from Miguel, kind of understanding that when you're in that 4-1 situation, you have Fake Out pressure on the field. There's just not too much you can do, but both players you guys saw did shake hands. Community camaraderie is here in the Pokemon community, and incredible competition. Naito played fantastically. I feel like Miguel's strategy of kind of going for the residual damage with Leech Seed just didn't work out in his favor when Naito was just bringing reads and bringing power and bringing just offensive pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of that offensive pressure actually came from a defensive move by switching a lot. A lot of those switches that Naohito made actually put him in a lot better offensive position. Like in Game 1, that Lantern's there and switching in, got the Intimidate off, pretty much took no damage at all, and then threatened with an Earthquake. That was an amazing switch Game 1, and I'm still talking about it after
another game. The series is over, but Game 1